So, you remember my exposure video where the kept going in and out of focus, in and out and in and out? Remember how annoying that was? Well, that's why this video exists. I'm going to show you a couple of neat little tricks with depth of field that I should have paid attention to last time. Although to be fair, it was the autofocus not being able to follow because I was moving back and forth with about this much depth of field. So the camera was doing its best, but I wasn't giving it a whole lot to work with. Today though, I've got some of my friends here, and we're gonna go through a basic depth of field tutorial. Let's jump in. So, depth of field is a wonderful thing. In this case, let me just zoom out here a little bit. I've got 3 guitar headstocks lined up and 1 bass headstock. Way in the back there. Right back there. Got some Christmas lights. Delicious things for showing depth of field. So I'm currently all the way pushed in on this lens. It's a 135mm lens, but I'm on a crop factor camera, which means it's really closer to about 216mm. So as you can see, I'm at f5.6, shutter speed is 1/50th, because I'm shooting in 24 frames a second, and my ISO is 800. So at this setup, I can get a reasonably shallow depth of field. We're not paper thin at this point, but let me unlock here a little bit. And as you can see, all these fingers out of focus, but as you can see, all these lovely little big old circles. And if you're doing some sort of a nighttime interview, these are great. Sometimes to spice up a dark background, make it a little more cinematic, a little cooler, you put a huge space behind you and put some Christmas lights in there. So I'm nice and close on the Ibanez, and then just as I turn the focus ring, I get to the Gibson, which is the second one. As you can see, the Ibanez is already gone out of focus. The Gibson is in focus, and everything else is out of focus. The lights in the back are still globes, beautiful. As I move back, the other acoustic, now that's in focus, but the closest electric guitar is now almost indistinguishable. The acoustic closest to us is blurry. The bass is pretty blurry, and the light globes are getting smaller. You can start to see a little bit of the background. As I push the focus back to the bass, now all of a sudden the lights aren't so much of a big globe, but they're still there, and they're still little out of focus little points of light. Our depth of field is so thin. The first 2 guitars are just indistinguishable globes like the background, and the acoustic furthest from us, same thing. And of course, if I send my focus all the way back to the lights, the problem just gets worse, and only the bass is somewhat distinguishable now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave my focus there. There we go. I've got my aperture up to f11 and ISO 3200. So you may already notice we're retaining a little more detail in the guitars. Watch what happens when I bring the bass in focus. There we go, the bass is in focus, but so is the guitar closest to it. As we draw our focus closer, same thing. Now the closest acoustic is in focus and sharp, but everything else is still in a reasonable amount of focus. If I pull all the way back here to the electric, sharp as a tack, but everything else is still kind of in focus. Okay, so that's the basics of depth of field. Obviously, there's a lot more you can do. I didn't even talk about things about going in all the way on your lens and getting back and things like that. That's a whole nother topic to itself. But for today's video, I think I covered what I needed to cover. So remember, depth of field, small f-stop, small depth of field, big f-stop, big depth of field, asterisk. The asterisk is there because there's a whole bunch of other factors that go into it. But generally speaking, for the same set of those other factors, smaller depth of field is achieved with a smaller f-stop. Anyways, hope you have a good one, and see you on the next one. Till then, that's a wrap. How do you play this thing?